Hello, and welcome back to Revenue Remix. I'm your host, Summer Poletti, founder of Rise of Us, where I help founders avoid wasting time, momentum, and reputation on sales strategies that fall flat. And today I have with me again, Sean Parnell. Give us a quick intro for anybody who's new to the show.
Well, started up a marketing business almost 20 years ago. So clients really rely on us for marketing to accelerate their growth through strategy, content, and all things digital.
Yes, and you're here because that stuff works. This is a bonus episode for everybody. If you haven't taken a peek at the partner panel, it's right before this episode, and this episode is a bonus. First bonus where I have a guest. Partnerships are key. It's a good way to add an extra channel for sustainable growth in 2026. And Sean is here because obviously we partner up. That is the way you get back on the show, is if you're in my ear constantly giving me content ideas. We're going to give a little just peek behind how we view partnerships. This is a practical application on how you can add partnerships to your wheel, because you can't rely on inbound alone, outbound alone. Partnerships are there to help you. Sean, we were meeting and you said something about give what you can. So let's start there, because I work on the sales side and I know how sales guys are. They are very coin operated. And when they hear partnerships, they think leads. And they don't always get that it should be a give and a take. And I see partnerships as give first. That's a good way to start establishing trust. Let's start with give what you can. What does that actually look like in practice? And think about boutique brands or startups, people who don't have gusto level of leads coming in.
Yeah, that could be a tough position because you're very eager to, partner with whoever you can to generate lead. But yeah, I also have a, pay it forward, give first approach as a way to, as you said, build trust. And I think in the beginning, it's talk to everybody you can, but you can waste a lot of time because it's like dating. Although, you know, I
It's been a
haven't
while.
dated in 25 years, but you gotta talk to a lot of people, go on a lot of dates to really find what could work, right? So there's some similarities there because, I've probably talked to thousands of people and there's relatively small number. The ideal is to get to some reciprocity.
Always.
And that's not just all, hey, I've got a lead for you, or I want to make an intro for you that could lead to a sale. I've had some valuable introductions where it's been to another partner, another complementary business that they might be able to pull us into opportunities or might be a good fit for us or might even become a partner of ours, to do some things that we need done for ourselves or partners. So I think the key is coming at it with a giver mentality, but you don't want to become a victim. So that's where the reciprocity comes in. And it's not, you're never going to strike a even balance all the time. So,
No.
and then it's also there, just think even when you're starting out, you might feel like there's not a lot that you can give, but there's always knowledge, of how to solve problems that they don't have experience with, or, people that could be great sources for them, whether it be a potential lead or a partner or what have you, or maybe even a potential hire.
Mm,
There's many ways that we
yeah.
can offer. And as a marketing company, if I've built a relationship with somebody and we're not providing the type of leads that we're getting, then there's things that we could do from a marketing standpoint. We can help create content, go through the brand story process, help them with their website, help them with SEO or AI search optimization, whatever your talents are, you can offer at least guidance and advisory, if it's not a lead per se.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a huge fan of co-created content, clearly. Something you said that was helpful. You have something. You're a business owner or a business leader. You have some sort of knowledge. I'm a big fan of, even if you have to give it away for free and ask for a case study in return or something like that, that's fine. But to understand that it's a relationship and you can't just take. And then also, some of us who are givers first, we attract the takers. I know I have. And so it's really important for me when I start a relationship is to kind of state upfront what I'm looking for. Like, I'm willing to do this. Here's what I'm looking for. And people, by the way, say yes all the time. But then what you have is you've got that little seed. And then when you're starting to see that things aren't working out, you can come back to that. Use the establishment of expectations in the beginning to come back to it. I don't want to say hold accountable because they're not your employee or your child, but
Yeah, I found if you're feeling things are out of balance with that reciprocity, the accountability can be tricky because it's not like you've got a written contract with them. Like you said, they're not accountable in that way. So what I tend to do is ask for some specific things. Hey, I saw this person in your LinkedIn. Do you know them well? Would you be able to make an introduction or something specific?
mm,
It is really important to put out there what you're looking for, your ideal client profile, because that's be like, I know a company just like that. And then you get, see it. Are they happy with whatever you do? So you're like, well, I'll have to check in on that. And then you see what comes of it. Maybe it's not an introduction right away, but next time they talk, they could bring it up or just ask point blank and then, follow up with them. But if you're feeling things are out of balance, you could say, hey, I see that you're connected to these three manufacturing CEOs. But do you think you can make an introduction to any of them? And if you get blown off, then that tells you need to spend time elsewhere. There used to be a group. They still exist, but they changed their name. But their original name was KLTR here in Chicago. Know, like, trust, refer. Notice refer is the last one. So
yes.
it's get to know and share what you're all about, who you're looking for. That's really important because I think when they're saying yes, they're really saying yes. I understand what you're looking for. They're not
Yeah, sure.
necessarily saying yes, I can help you. Maybe they can or not, or maybe they think they can, but it doesn't turn out
Yeah.
for a variety of reasons. And then that trust building, is important because I've made the mistake actually of joining some groups and referring people that I didn't really know that well. It seemed like they talked a good game. I remember this
Yeah.
guy in telecommunications, and one of my clients was having an issue with their phone system. So I put him in touch, and then maybe 2 months later, the client said, "Hey, Sean, that guy that you referred to us, it was terrible. He made a big mess." And I'm like,
Ooh,
now I've just risked my relationship, my
with a
client,
client.
because
Ye
I referred somebody to or trusted what they said to be true and I got burned. So there is that side of things too.
Yeah. I think you touched on something that is a big reason why this is the long game. So anytime somebody goes into a partnership, especially from my side of the fence, which is the sales folks, they're like, "Oh yeah, a new partnership. This is going to fill my pipeline." But somebody's not willing to vouch for you yet. They gotta see some reps. And I think way too many people go into a potential partnership looking for what they need out of it. And that's the wrong way to go. Like that is a huge trust killer. What I look for is little signs. They might not be willing to send me to a client yet, but are they willing to see who I am and what I do and be like, "Ooh, here's somebody you need in your network." I'll see that as a little initial sign that somebody might be willing to have a mutual relationship, but we haven't quite gotten to the give leads part yet.
Yeah, and it's good. I also listen for problems,
Mm,
problems that maybe somebody in my network could solve. Like
mhm.
if I hear there's some kind of accounting and finance problems, I've got good resources for that. If they're not converting the leads that are coming to them, I know somebody on this podcast that could really help with that. So that's important because that's how you build trust, and I think it's if you approach it, what can I give? What problems can I help solve? Because that top tier of that relationship pyramid, is a trusted advisor. Whether it's a client or it's a potential referral partner or just somebody you meet. If you can help solve their problems, then they become very appreciative and start naturally thinking, well, what can I do for you? Even if they don't, for me, I feel good that I helped solve a problem and just, took one problem out of this world.
There's a
So,
couple.
and I think if you've got that mentality, you're going to attract the same type of person as well. Not the taker. There's plenty of takers out there. They may not mean to be, some might, but you just don't want to waste time with them.
Yeah.
So, and
I
if
think there's a
especially if you're asking somebody.
cluelessness. I'll give people cluelessness when they're a taker. Most of them just don't get it, and they're hungry and, so I'm
I
not gonna call them. but
Yeah,
I'm also not going to unconnect them on LinkedIn, right?
right. Well, I
I
think
like
it's
that you took it to focus on the problem because I'm a big impact person. How can you make an impact? And focusing on the problem that you solve and or that you could help them solve is a great way to start. I like that.
yeah, even if it's not your business, because that's where
Yeah.
like then if your reputation is, wow, this person's really resourceful.
Yes.
And that's like when your clients feel that way, hey, I know this isn't really your area, but do you know anybody that or do you have an experience with this?
Yes.
That's when you become that trusted advisor, but not
Yes.
just for clients, even for, two people like you and I, because we have tremendous people in our networks built up over so many years. But also, I think it's really important. The concept of assuming positive intent, I think is really important because I know people that maybe I referred even a couple of leads to them, maybe they even converted, but then they get really busy, they get distracted, and I didn't get necessarily reciprocation, but it might come later. And it's also important to stay on their radar. So if you get a newsletter that goes out or whatnot, it's really important to include people like that in addition to prospects because you want to try to stay top of mind. Of course, posting on LinkedIn and other things like that are good too, because sometimes it's a timing issue. And that's happened to me
Yes.
where it might be a couple of years before I can really reciprocate something in the form of a lead.
Yeah. You're talking about the trusted advisor tier, and I'll dumb it down just a little bit. Like, I want to have a guy for that. First of all, I hate telling people no. Like, it's really hard for me. So I can tell somebody, well, I don't do that thing, but I know somebody. And then I've still helped them. So I think it's important to have not just, and you categorize them however you want, partners that can give you leads, but also partners that can help you solve a problem indirectly. Because being that source for your clients where you help them in some way or another, I think it's also a trust builder if you don't try to take it on. If you're like, look, I'm not the expert for that, but I know somebody who is. I love that.
Absolutely.
And there's something you said that I want to go back to. And it's like when you give a lead, especially to a client, there's a huge trust factor there. I like to de risk myself a little bit by giving two or three. I'm never like, this is the one person I recommend, like the sole solution. I'm like, here's a couple people I know, go talk to them. You make the choice because
Yeah.
people like options. And also, can't believe I'm saying this on camera. If somebody makes the choice, then they have to own their choice.
No, I think that's good because it's really there that helps them give them the options that they can see where's a good fit because it's all about fit. The way I look at it is we're all in this together. If we can help each other, I do like certainly the options if you can. And also, I've said too, having been burned before, it's, hey, I know this company does that, but I haven't worked with them yet. So I haven't really
Yes.
seen the result yet. So be aware of that, but it might be worth talking to. So I think it's okay to say things like that
Yeah.
because I think we're all eager to refer others when we see a potential fit. But do you really know how good they are? Because there's a lot of people out there that talk a good game and, really stumble when it comes to execution.
Yeah. And even if they're really good at delivering, what if they have a new person on their team? You never know. And
Ouch.
I
Nope.
want to get back to something else you dropped, which was closing the lead. Because I think a lot of people get annoyed if a partner sends a lead and they're not closing. So I will say that your partner tried. They sent you somebody. If that person wasn't ready to buy or if your team couldn't close it, like that's not on the partner. So I always want to focus on intent. You said, positive intent. They sent you a lead. So you get to check that as they did their thing. And then it's up to you to convert it. And by the way, have the customer success motion in place to retain it, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and also, if you want to keep getting leads, for that you follow up in a timely manner and
Oh my
you're
God. Yes.
respectful and that you express appreciation who gave it to you, even if it didn't turn out, it's important to let them know what
Yes.
happened.
Yes.
And that could even help if somebody, never responded to you and say, hey, I reached out a couple times. and didn't hear anything back, which is okay. But then you might have some, oh, well, I'm going to lunch with them tomorrow. I'll mention it to them. So one of the things too, when you give a lead, I always like to pre-qualify where, hey, it's, would you be open to this introduction? I know this person does this and to whatever degree. Are,
Yes.
are you open to that? Because I only like to make an introduction when both parties have expressed interest to me
Yes.
because I don't want to waste anybody's time. You still get an at bat. Somebody's thinking about you and still.
Yeah, it's somebody in your network or in your email list. It's up to you to nurture them. Yeah, I have seen so many partnerships fall apart because I sent a lead and I never heard back. So yeah, you absolutely have to follow up. And I like a follow up immediately. Hey, I got the lead, we're talking. And then a what happened? People want to know the end of the movie. So you have to tell them whether I closed it and they're going live next week is the story the partner wants to hear, but it didn't work out. I'm gonna keep them up in my follow-up list. Like that's okay too. They need to know because you owe them that.
Well, and these are things that help build trust. If you get a lead, follow through, communicate, express appreciation, think about what you could do for them. When you're giving a lead, pre-qualifying really helps both parties, and then it just builds trust with everybody, at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, yeah. And since it's a bonus episode, I'm going to let you get back to your day. The one thing I want to leave this with is when somebody shows a sign of potential actual partnership, they're on my calendar regularly. And by the way, anybody listening, you can figure out who those people are because they're on the show a lot. So you also have to make something consistent. It's like date night with your spouse. You have to work on relationships and partnerships. We're all busy. And if you're not on my calendar, I'm not going to think about you. And it's just, unfortunately, it's that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And when I think about maybe some referral sources that have fallen off, let's say 100% of the time, it's I haven't been proactively reaching out
Hmm.
uh, to them.
Yeah.
So, and it takes time, and we all have probably more to do than we have time to do it in. But that's if you want leads and support, it starts with you. So,
Yeah. And it has to be regular and there has to be some intent behind that meeting. But even if it's on the calendar once a quarter, you're guaranteeing that they're gonna think and see you once a quarter, you're not gonna meet them once and then you're now their guy for that.
yeah,
It's just not gonna happen.
absolutely. Which
Put in the
reminds me,
work.
there's one partner of mine that I am reminded that I need to follow what I say here and reach out to him and let's go to lunch and reconnect. It's been a few months.
Yeah, yeah, do it. Send them this podcast when it drops. I was thinking of you. All right, Sean. Well, thank you for working with me so much over these years and for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom. If you're not already following Sean, I'll drop his LinkedIn. We stay connected because their stuff works and I need stuff that works. All right. Well, those of you listening in the gym or the car, I appreciate you too. And I will see you all next week.